Islamic law, Sharia, per Quran 929, so the 9th surah or chapter, the 29th verse, mandates waging jihad war to submit Jews and Christians to humiliating status of religious discrimination and legal inequality if they do not accept the true faith, i.e. Islam. And it reads, "Fight against those who believe not in Allah nor in the last day, nor forbid that which has been forbidden by Allah and his messenger Muhammad, and those who acknowledge not the religion of truth, Islam, among the people of the scripture, Jews and Christians, until they pay the jizya, the Quranic poll tax, with willing submission and feel themselves subdued." But Islam also singles the Jews out uniquely for opprobrium, as is evident in the 7th verse of the Quran's first chapter called the Fatiha, or opening, which pious Muslims repeat 17 times daily. This verse refers to those who have incurred Allah's anger, and both the tradition of Islam's prophet Muhammad himself and over 13 centuries of authoritative Quranic commentaries till now maintain this reference is to the Jews. Why have they engendered Allah's anger? Here is a 1940 summary rationale by the great scholar of Islam's anti-Jewish polemic Moshe Perlman from a chapter entitled Jews in the Quran and Traditions, which interestingly mirrors a 1966 work by Muhammad Sayyid Tantawi, modern Sunni Islam's greatest commentator and papal equivalent Grand Imam of Al-Azhar University, Sunni Islam's Vatican, from 1996 to 2010, also entitled Jews in the Quran and Traditions. So from Perlman in the Quran. The Jews transgressed Allah's commandments and flouted the prophets and even slew them, that's Quran 381. Therefore, many punishments fell upon them, that's Quran 261. For example, some of them were turned into apes for desecrating the Sabbath, Quran 265, 7166, Quran 560 claims apes and pigs. The believers, Muslims, will find that they, the Jews, are their fiercest enemies, that's Quran 582. Therefore, after they had rejected many friendly overtures, that's Quran 259 and 581, it was decided that they must be fought against, made tributaries, and compelled to pay the poll tax as a mark of their humiliation, again Quran 929. In the traditions of Muhammad, they did not shrink from plotting, practicing sorcery, and poisoning, including Muhammad himself, until they were finally crushed and driven out of Arabia. The Jews extended their hatred of the Prophet to all Muslims. They became, in a way, the incarnation of evil. No wonder that, when the world comes to an end, and when Dajjal, the Muslim Antichrist equivalent, threatens to destroy those of the true faith, the Jews will be betrayed in their hiding places, even by the crying of the rock, "Here is a Jew behind me, kill him." The discrimination shared by Jews and Christians under deliberately abasing Sharia mandates is what historian Batyaor called dhimmitude, which derives from Quran 929's dhimma pact of submission, which spared the lives of Jews and Christians who did not convert to Islam. She stated, "For me as a Jew, this insight into Christian dhimmitude represented an intellectual experience that was not easy to undertake. This was not the domineering face of European Christendom, persecuting and triumphant, but the discovery of its persecuted, humiliated, and suffering other side. In short, Eastern Christianity's history of dhimmitude under Islam is a sort of Jewish experience endured this time by Christians." What was that Jewish experience? Passed as prologue, shaped by both the broader Islamic institution of dhimmitude and Islam's own unique canonical Islamic Jew hatred, derived from the Quran itself, the traditions of Islam's prophet Muhammad, the so-called Hadith, and the earliest pious Muslim biographies of Muhammad, or the Sirah. Mythically tolerant Muslim Spain, Andalusia, before the Reconquista, in fact a land of continuous jihad with strict application of the Sharia for both Christians and Jews, illustrates clearly the simultaneous Jewish experience of dhimmitude and theological Islamic Jew hatred. Moshe Perlman described how inflammatory rhetoric rooted in canonical Islam, including profuse usage of the Quranic epithet ape for Jews, declared, according to the Sirah by Muhammad himself, before he slaughtered the surrendered males of the Medinan Jewish tribe Banu Qurayza, and the notion Jews had breached the Quranic dhimma pact of submission through their cunning, precipitated the mass slaughter and destruction of the Jewish community in Grenada during a 1066 pogrom by rampaging Muslims. It is estimated that 4,000 Jews perished, annihilating the entire community and making it the largest anti-Jewish pogrom till then in European history. 8 decades later, the Jewish sage Maimonides barely survived the Berber Muslim Almohad jihad ravages of Spain and North Africa, which slaughtered tens of thousands, forcibly converting the Jewish survivors to Islam and subjecting these forced Jewish converts to a Muslim inquisition, which lasted through the close of the 12th century. Maimonides, in his 1172 epistle to the Jews of Yemen, who wrote to the sage as they were suffering from a wave of anti-Jewish pogroms and forced conversions to Islam, urged them to remain steadfast while lamenting, quote, "The nation of Ishmael persecute us severely and devise ways to harm us and debase us. None has matched it in debasing and humiliating us." Today, the grotesque myth of Islamic tolerance of Jews in particular persists even as we are in the midst of a global pandemic of Muslim anti-Semitism and anti-Jewish violence. This violent hatred is driven by the same unreformed and unrepentant canonical Islamic themes Perlman described in the 1940s, which date to the advent of Islam, as promulgated now by Islam's most authoritative religious teaching institutions, Sunni and Shiite alike. Analyses from the Anti-Defamation League, published between 2014 to November 21st, 2019, so just this past November, which determined the prevalence, the occurrence of extreme anti-Semitism, that is, agreement with at least 6 out of 11 anti-Semitic stereotypes, have demonstrated all the following. The 16 most anti-Semitic countries in the world are all in the Muslim Middle East, where extreme anti-Semitism has a 74 to 93% prevalence. Extreme anti-Semitism is 50 to 55% prevalent among Western European Muslims, i.e., approximately threefold the rate of Western European Christians or non-Muslims overall. Extreme anti-Semitism in the U.S., a much more philo-Semitic country, has a 34% prevalence amongst Muslims, 2.4-fold the 14% rate in non-Muslims. This excess of Muslim Jew hatred is accompanied not only by endless jihad violence against Israeli Jews, so 450 to 500 thwarted attacks per year in 2018 and 2019, additionally thousands of rocket barrages, but 3 to 10-fold increased rates of anti-Jewish violence or violent threats against Western European Jews by Muslims relative to violence from the left or right, and 23 Muslim jihadist attacks against American Jews since 9/11, 16 of which were thwarted, thankfully, but 7 that were completed, resulting in 8 deaths and 8 serious injuries, the most recent being Muslim convert Grafton Thomas's attack on a Monsey, New York synagogue, December 28, 2019, during a Hanukkah candlelighting ceremony. Current Al-Azhar University Grand Imam and Sunni Muslim papal equivalent, Ahmed Al-Tayeb, during an October 2013 interview, reaffirmed authoritatively the canonical Islamic animus which fuels the global orgy of Muslim Jew hatred and violence. Riveting on Quran 582, Al-Tayeb stated brazenly, "A verse in the Quran explains the Muslims' relations with the Jews. See how we suffer today from global Zionism and Judaism." He equates them. "Since the inception of Islam 1400 years ago, we have been suffering from Jewish and Zionist interference." He equates them in Muslim affairs. The Quran, Quran 582, said it, and history has proven it. You shall find the strongest among men in enmity to the believers to be the Jews. 850 years ago, Maimonides stated with the understandable resignation of a subjugated Jewish dhimmi in Islamdom the following: "We have done as our sages of blessed memory instructed us, bearing the lies and absurdities of Ishmael. We listen but remain silent. In spite of all this, we are not spared from the ferocity of their wickedness and their outbursts at any time. On the contrary, the more we suffer and choose to conciliate them, the more they choose to act belligerently toward us. It is unconscionable that today, due to sheer cowardice, Jewish and Christian leadership refuses to condemn the canonical Islamic Jew hatred proclaimed by Grand Imam Al-Tayeb and thousands of lesser Muslim clerics worldwide."